Good morning. We're gonna make some bread. It's not that early in the morning, but it was daylight savings time and I'm like half asleep still, but that's okay because we're gonna make some bread. Starting this is super easy. You need a scale. We're gonna go through everything you need, so get it all out. Filtered water, salt, any kind of salt. You can do pink Himalayan, whatever kind of salt you like. It literally doesn't matter. I just do sea salt. Unbleached. It has to be unbleached. I use the Costco stuff. King Arthur makes a good one, but it needs to be unbleached, all-purpose, or bread flour. And start with white. Don't get like a whole wheat or a rye or anything like that. Just get a white, like regular unbleached flour, bread flour, whatever. Something to mix. I like this, but you can literally use a wood spoon. I also like, let me see it right here. Just like this. This is fine too. It's like the silicone spatulas. These are fine. And then a big bowl. You only need the one bowl. And then I'm making 2 bowls, so I have 2 bowls. And then like a little smaller dish or something to hold some water, because we're gonna need that later. So moving, oh, and a wet tea towel or damp. Just like get it wet and wring it out really, really well. This is the most important piece. You can see this jar is completely full of sourdough starter. Like, it's super duper full. Last night when I fed it, I only had about this much in it, so it has more than doubled. And I think it's still growing, but this is good enough for today. It will work. If you want to make sure that your starter is ready, you can take a little bit out with a spoon and put it in a cup of water, and if it floats in the water, it's ready to use. I already know this is gonna float, but I'll show you what I mean with the bowl. I don't have any fancy camera set up or anything like that, so I'll do my best. You'll get the gist. Okay, the recipe. You're gonna want 100 grams of starter, 325 grams of water, 475 grams of flour, and 10 grams of salt. So I'm going to show you in what order to put all these ingredients in. So get your scale and turn it on. I'm doing this as basic as possible so you can be successful. So you're going to put your bowl on your scale and then you're going to tare it so that it's at 0. We're going to take our sourdough starter and you're going to dump in 100 grams of starter. So I usually just turn my cup upside down and I kind of just see how bubbly and nice that is. I just kind of start kind of pouring it in there, and then I use this little spatula here to kind of get close to 100. Like, if you're at like 105, it's not gonna be that big of a deal. Just get right. Yep, there we go. We're at 101. Now I'm at 106, but whatever. It's still gonna work just fine. I kind of wipe that. Okay. And then I'm just gonna loosely put the lid back on top of my sourdough starter and set it back over to the side, and then I'll let it finish rising and falling, and then I'll feed it tonight before I go to bed. You don't need to do anything special with the jar. Just put the lid back, just set the lid on it, don't screw it down, and just put it back wherever it was you were storing it. So, there's our 100 grams of starter. You're gonna tare your scale again. And now we're gonna do 325 grams of water. So you just start pouring. I do filtered water. I do it through the Brita. Some people say, the Brita doesn't filter it out, whatever. I put hot water in the Brita the night before and then let it sit overnight, and it's never given me a problem. Almost there. I go really slow because you want to be pretty accurate with these measurements. Okay, right, it's close enough. You'll see when I scrape it up off the bottom, can you see it kind of, see how it floats to the top? That's what you want to see. See how it's all floaty in there. That's how you know you're active and you're ready to use. Like I said, when you're new at this, if you want to take a little bit out of the jar and plop it into a little cup of water and make sure it floats, then fine. But honestly, if it's rising and it's huge and it's like coming up, it's fine to use. So you're gonna take whatever you use to stir it and you're gonna just mix all this together. And basically, this is like the only time you're actually going to use any kind of mixing tool. The rest of this is, well, I mean, except for when we first add the flour, but then after that, it's all going to be with your hands. And I think that that's just like so much fun. So anyways, you get it mostly mixed up. It looks like grossness. It smells really sour. It's got like a sourdough smell to it. Okay, so once all that's mixed up and nice, we're gonna get our scale back out. You're gonna zero your scale again. 475 grams of flour. Look at a crazy person this morning. This is so easy. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need all the fancy stuff. You don't need fancy flour, anything like that. 475 of flour, let's do it. I just dump it straight from the bag. It seems like a lot of flour is because it is. It makes a pretty good loaf. So now you've got all this in here. And notice that I have not added salt. We're going to add salt in a little while. We're not going to do it right now. Take your mixing tool, whatever it is, your spatula, whatever. You're going to mix this into a shaggy dough. So you're going to just mix it up until it's really shaggy looking. And I like to take my tool around the edge because that's where all the dry flour likes to congregate here. And I kind of get in the middle. Anyways. And you're not going to overdo it, but you're going to get it just enough kind of off the sides. So it's like really shaggy looking. Not mixed up that well. You'll still see some dry pieces of flour in there. Anyways, so you can kind of see it's like this dry, kind of mixed in sort of ish mix. So we're gonna set your wet dishcloth just right over the top. Your damp dishcloth, you don't want it dripping. You do not want water dripping in here. And you just kind of tuck it in for 30 minutes. I've done it for an hour if I'm like busy doing something else, but 30 minutes is fine. Up to an hour is okay. And then we're gonna come back and show you what to do next. Okay, timer's gonna go off. So they're sitting here. Goes. All right, so we have our shaggy mixture here. And we're gonna take a little dish. And we're gonna weigh out 9 grams of salt. Do not forget this step. Do not forget your salt, because if you do, your bread will taste so bad. I don't know what it is, because it doesn't just taste unsalted, it just tastes bad. So you gotta add this. Even if you're doing like a cinnamon loaf or something, add the freaking salt. Okay, there's 9.4 grams of salt, so fine. Now, I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle this all over the top. Just kind of all over, and then I'm gonna use this dish, because I don't wanna waste a dish, and I'm gonna put some filtered water in it, just enough to like be able to dip my hands in it. I'm just gonna dip your hands in this water. Make sure your hands are clean. I just And you're just gonna kind of get them wet. And then you're gonna reach, you're gonna reach into the bowl and I kind of scrape the edges and you pull up and over. And you're gonna do that, pull up, just grab it and over, up and over. And you're just stretching it. You're being kind of, I don't know how else to explain it. The first set of stretch and folds, I do a few extra because we added that salt and I want to incorporate it really well because I just don't want the salt, like concentrated areas of salt sitting on my dough. I've heard that it can affect it, but anyways, I just kind of give it some stretches and like fold it over. I get my hands like a little bit, not too wet, but I have to stand on my tippy toes so I can reach the, sometimes it even just comes out of the bowl. Look at this mess. And then I stretch it and just kind of fold it back over on itself. And that's your first set of stretch and folds. And you have like a little ball and you'll notice that it starts to feel tighter. Like the first time you pull it, it's like slime. It pulls so easy. The more we do this, the tighter it's going to get and the more difficult it's going to be to stretch and fold it. You're going to cover it back up with the tea towel. I'm going to put it in my oven with the oven light on because it's nice and warm in there. And then I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. And then after that, we'll come back and do it again. At this point, cover it with your wet tea towel, your damp tea towel, put it in the oven with the light on or not, set it on your counter. It doesn't really matter. Wait 15 minutes, come back, and we'll do it again. And I'll show you what to do next. Okay, the 15-minute timer went off and you'll see that it looks a lot more relaxed and it's kind of in like a ball shape still a little bit, but it's definitely a lot more relaxed. And so it's time to do the second set of stretch and folds. Now I'm just gonna walk you through every set of stretch and folds because we're gonna make this as easy as possible. So again, kind of get your hand under it, kind of scrape it up and pull up and over. And you're gonna pull up and you're gonna notice it's getting a lot tighter. So you just give it a nice gentle pull, try not to rip it. Get your hands a little bit wet. And you can use both hands and just gently pull up and you're just trying to stretch it out and over the top of itself and then turn. And this is our last set and you'll notice it really, there's an air bubble there. Sometimes what I do is I just give it a little wiggle or I just kind of get my hands under there. I try not to rip it or I kind of stick it to the bottom of the bowl so it stretches easier and then over the top of itself again. And you're just gonna leave it like that. Gonna cover it with your towel and either leave it on the counter or put it in the oven with the light on. Either way, it's fine. And then 15 minutes, we're coming back. All right, round 3, let's do it. So it's more relaxed. That's what you want. Same thing as round 1 and round 2, but you're gonna notice the dough is getting more difficult to work with and you want that. That's a good thing. That means that it's building, it's getting there. So it's starting to feel more like Play-Doh than slime, but you're still gonna pull it up and stretch it. And you might need to get your hands a little bit wet. Not too wet. I wouldn't have them like dripping everywhere because you're going to add a lot of moisture to the bread and the bread's going to be really difficult to work with later if you're a beginner at this. So I'm just doing 4 stretch and folds where I pull the dough up and over, turn my bowl, grab it. See, this one like doesn't even want to stretch. So sometimes, like I said, I'll kind of pull it out of the bowl. You don't want to tear it. So you gotta get your hands a little bit wet here. You can kind of stick it to I kind of tap it to the bottom of the bowl so I can get like a good stretch. So, all right, that's round 3. Cover it up with your damp tea towel. Set your timer for 15 minutes and we'll come back again. All right, round 4. This is the final round. Get my hands wet a little bit here. Get up under it. pull. I'm gonna do 4 stretch and folds. That final stretch that just doesn't want to stretch. Sometimes I bring it out and stretch it like that, and then pull it and fold it, and then I kind of nestle it down in the bowl because now we're done. So now we're gonna let it rise. So this part here, this is the part where I put it in the oven with the light on. But basically, I just have the oven light on. Got my cast iron in there. And I just put it in the oven right here with the light on. And then the damp towel that we've been using, I just cover it up. And I shut the door, and then it's gonna sit in there for, it kind of varies, so I just kind of keep an eye on it, but like probably about 4 to 6 hours. It just kind of depends. You want it to like double in size or close to it. Okay, it's been about 4 hours, and I just checked on the loaves. They look ready. So you have 2 options at this point, and I will tell you which, like, when we get there. But one option is that you're gonna put it in the fridge overnight and cook it the next day. But I work tomorrow, and I'm taking bread to work tomorrow, so I'm going to cook mine pretty much right now. So this Dutch oven has the metal top. It's rated for up to 500 degrees. So I'm gonna set the oven to 475. And I'm gonna put the Dutch oven in there while it heats up, and I'm gonna let the Dutch oven get nice and hot in the oven while we prep the bread. And so then you just put the entire Dutch oven with the lid on it in there, and I pretty much destroyed mine. I burnt the crap out of it. It's just whatever, it's fine. You hear the chickens chirping, but basically, oven lid on in the oven. It's a little underproofed, but it'll still cook up nicely. This could proof for another hour or 2 and be fine. It's not gonna overproof, but I got stuff to do today, so we're just gonna bake it. I'm sure it will be fine. Let's get into it. We're gonna generously kind of flour your surface here. And I usually have like a pile of flour to the side for my hands. And I'm gonna get my hands nice and dry and floury. And we're gonna get this guy onto the bench here. So I kind of go through and scrape the edges. Yeah, it's peeling from the edge pretty nicely, honestly. So, and then I get more flour. It'll be fine. And then kind of just hold her upside down and get her to, yeah, oh yeah, this will be great. This is not underproofed. This is just fine. So anyways, now we got this, like, it's kind of to the side. Got the, very sticky. It's very sticky. It takes some getting used to, right? This like wet, sticky, doughy mess. It's fine. That's what you want. So you're gonna grab this and you're gonna pull. You're just gonna stretch this dough out all over on each side. This is called laminating. So you're laminating your dough here, and you're kind of making like a, it's hard to see on the video because I suck at recording, but it's like, yeah, it's like a giant square. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so full of holes and everything else. So now what I do here is I fold this side over most of the way, and then I fold this side. You kind of stretch it, fold it over itself, and then you can either grab from the top or the back, either way, whatever you prefer. And you're gonna kind of grab and roll it on itself like a gigantic cinnamon roll, kind of. And you're gonna kind of pull and roll at the same time. You're just gonna grab this, pull and roll, pull and roll. And this is my favorite part of making the dough. And if your hands get sticky, just rub it in the flour. It's fine. And you can see like this big air bubble. This is gorgeous. This is gonna be a really nice loaf of bread. Okay, so now you've got this like giant roll, right? Like what do you do with this? So I start kind of tucking these in and grabbing it, and then you bring it towards you and you kind of tuck and roll, tuck and roll, tuck and roll until you have this like nice ball. So yeah, so this is good. Yeah, we have this like nice little ball here. So now we do a bench rest is what it's called. So I just stick it in like a nice little floury area so it doesn't stick. And I just kind of leave it there. So it's just kind of sitting there like that. And we're gonna let it sit there for like 10 to 20 minutes. We're just gonna let it rest, and then we're gonna do that all over again. We're gonna kind of stretch it out and roll it back up on itself, but this time it's gonna be less aggressive because the dough itself is gonna be a lot tighter. Okay, the bench rest is over. There she is. Bring some flour onto your surface here. Get your hands nice and floury. I use a bench scraper and I kind of get this guy up. And you're gonna flip it over. And you're basically gonna do what you did before, but it's gonna be a lot tougher because the bread is just basically ready to be baked. So you just kind of work it, but don't tear it. Don't be so rough with it that it rips. And then I basically like stretch it over itself again, and then I roll it. Stretch and roll again. Put some more flour on my hands here. Stretch and roll again, and then like tuck those guys underneath. And then you're basically gonna do these like, you're scooting and turning, tucking. Basically your goal is to get like this like nice like surface tension here. Like a nice, really just tight ball. And I just kind of do it until I'm happy with how it's sitting. I think that's about good there. We're gonna grab it, and I cut out a piece of parchment paper that looks like this. It's like a bread sling that goes in, I put it in the Dutch oven. It's not perfect, it's like really ugly. Now you're just gonna pick up your loaf and put it here. So pick it up. You're just gonna set it right there. So now you've got your loaf here. And then I just take a little bit of flour and I sprinkle it on top and kind of rub it in. Not too much, because like I said, the flour kind of tends to burn. Sometimes I use like a little bit of rice flour to do this portion of it because rice flour won't burn in the oven. But whatever you have at home, we're keeping this simple. This is as simple as I can explain it. It's ready to go in the oven. Our Dutch oven's at 475 degrees. It's nice and hot. It's been sitting in there for the last like 20 minutes. Got one of these fancy little doohickeys, but before I got one of these as a gift, I just used like a really sharp knife that I had, or a razor blade, if you have one of those. So yeah, I'm gonna flip the camera around so you can kind of see how I cut it. So hopefully I can multitask here, but you're basically, for your first time, just give it like a nice cut like that. Or you can do an X, but basically these cuts are so that the bread can expand in the oven. So I just kind of like hold it at like a little bit of an angle, kind of up, not straight down, kind of up. You don't want to go too deep with sourdough. But you just give it like this like nice little score here, and you'll already see it trying to open up, which is great. And then, okay, so make sure you got some mitts because it's really, really hot. Got our Dutch oven here. And you're just gonna pick it up just like this. You're gonna plop it down in this oven, being very careful not to burn the crap out of yourself. And then you put the lid back on, and so Lid on. This is gonna go in the oven for 25 minutes at 475 degrees. See you in 20 minutes. Okay, we're at 25 minutes. So now we're going to turn the oven down to 450. Take the lid off. Leave the bread in the oven for like another 20-ish minutes. So usually I set like a 10-minute timer, and then I check it in about 10 minutes because the crust will brown up pretty quickly and you don't want to burn it. But basically, whenever the crust is the color that you want it, then you could take it out of the oven and yeah, go from there. Okay, it's been 12 minutes. And I like the way mine looks, so let's take it out. It's little papers here, so that's not hot. She looks good. And then I just slide it onto this. She looks good enough. She'll be delicious. And that's how she looks. So I could have probably scored a little bit deeper and that'll give you like more of an ear. She looks like in a pretty tight ball still, but I'm sure it'll be delicious. So another tip for this is to not cut it open while it's warm, unfortunately. Part of the cooling down process, very hot. Part of the cooling down process is also part of the cooking process. So it needs to sit for, I'd say, at least an hour. It'll still be warm in the middle after an hour, but really good if you slice it up and toast it with like butter or something, then you can still have warm bread.